I'm a girl living alone. On a rainy night around 11 p.m., I received a sudden call from an unfamiliar number. Are you the owner of the XXX license plate? Your car window is open, and it's raining heavily. I thanked him, and was about to go downstairs, but got held up with work. 10 minutes later, the phone rang again. As I answered, a different man was speaking on the other end. Wait, why are you telling her like this? Then, it switched back to the original person. Hello. Why haven't you come down yet? The car is getting soaked. Suddenly, I felt that something was not quite right with the situation. The phone rang again. It was the same number. I answered, intending to explain the situation, but the moment I picked up, another man's voice spoke on the other end. Wait, why are you telling her like this? The voice abruptly stopped. How could there be another man? After a while, it switched back to the original female voice. Hello. Why haven't you come down yet? Your car is getting soaked. The background sound during the call remained the pouring rain. This time, her voice seemed a bit impatient. Was she still by my car? The living room clock ticked. It had been over 10 minutes since the first call, and judging by the sound, there seemed to be more than one person near the car. Something felt off, triggering my instincts. I calmly retrieved the property management's number, and planned to ask them to check the situation while dealing with the people on the phone. Oh, I just found the key, and was about to go down. I tentatively asked the person on the other end, it's raining heavily outside, isn't it? It's not safe for a girl to be out so late. While composing a text message to the property management, I clicked send. The rain sound on the call briefly diminished, as if someone covered the microphone. When she spoke again, her voice sounded somewhat strange. I happened to see your window open, and since you hadn't come down for a long time, I thought of reminding you. The man on the other end spoke again. You stand here. No wonder I didn't see you earlier. You've been waiting for a long time. Let's go. I listened silently, realizing there were footsteps approaching from a distance. The property management also messaged, saying they were on their way. My tense heart gradually eased. The girl on the phone bid farewell. I'm leaving. Remember to come down and close your window. Okay, thank you. Perhaps it was just a misunderstanding. I hung up and called the property management lobby to inquire about the situation. After waiting for a while, no one answered. I had to call a private number of an administrator whom I knew at the property. He quickly picked up. Hello. I'm already here. Indeed, it's not closed. Rainwater has entered. Come down and take a look. I felt like I was paranoid. Maybe they were genuinely trying to help. You wait for me. A moment. It'll come down now. Just as I was about to open the door, the phone rang again. It was the property management lobby's number. Hello. Madam, you just called. Is there something wrong? I smiled and said, oh, it's nothing. I forgot to close my car window, and I asked your colleague to check for me. Mr. Wu. There was a moment of silence on the other end, followed by a question. Madam, when you mentioned Mr. Wu, are you referring to Wu Hao? Confused, I replied, yes, that's him. He's waiting for me downstairs. The voice on the phone suddenly became more serious. Mr. Wu resigned last week. The rain outside intensified. The pouring rain, accompanied by the howling wind, made the windows rattle. My hand holding the phone trembled. Then, how did he agree to help me check? Even as I asked, I had a bad premonition, but I didn't want to believe it. Madam, don't worry, I'm coming over to your place now. I'll accompany you to check. How does that sound? The voice on the phone was steady and reassuring. In that moment, I felt like a drowning person grabbing a lifeline. Okay, please come. My address is 304 in Building 3. I'll wait for you. I hung up and sat in the hallway, listening to the sounds outside. Every subtle noise immediately triggered my sensitive nerves. As I waited, I began to resent why I had chosen this new residential area with such low occupancy. If there were more people, wouldn't it be so quiet? Sitting at home, the more I waited, the more anxious I became. I couldn't help but wonder why Wu Hao, who was no longer a security guard, agreed to help me check my car window. Are even security guards fake? I suddenly had a very bad guess. If the man and the woman from earlier really had some ulterior motives, Wu Hao might be part of their group. Staring into the dark night outside, I couldn't shake off the worst case scenario. Suddenly, the phone rang again. It was Wu Hao. My heart tightened, and my body followed suit, growing tense. He didn't know that I already knew he had resigned, so what did he intend to do? After hesitating for a long time, I answered, hello, haven't you come down yet? The rain is getting heavy. Wu Hao's voice was normal, and the background was unusually quiet. I seized the moment to fake a male image. I hoped that, whatever he was planning, he would immediately stop. Wu Hao laughed again, a laughter that felt somewhat eerie in this night. The voice echoed, seeming to carry a resonance. I remember, Building 3, 301, 302, 304. 304 is the one you bought yourself, right? He indeed knew. Knock, knock, knock. There was a sudden knocking on the door. He had arrived. I was startled, jumping up from the shoe-changing stool. I couldn't hold on to the phone, and it fell to the floor, rolling to the door. Hello? What's that sound? Knock, knock, knock. Open the door. The two voices intertwined, buzzing in my brain. In an instant, my legs went weak, and a strong tingling sensation shot up from my spine to the top of my head. I could barely stand, without the strength to deal with Wu Hao anymore. I hung up. The only sounds left were the ticking of the clock, and the pounding of my heart. Knock, knock, knock. Property management, open the door. Another wave of panic washed over me, and I couldn't bring myself to make a sound. After a brief moment of calming down, I cautiously approached the door and peered through the peephole, but the person outside was too close, and all I could see was a grayish-yellow blur. Are you from the property management? Outside the door came the response. Yes, madam, we're here to accompany you to check your car window. The people outside stepped back, and I saw their uniforms. My suspended heart gradually eased. Regardless of the intentions of that Wu Hao, or the man and woman, I didn't believe they would have any ulterior motives. With two other men accompanying them, I took an umbrella and prepared to open the door. Before opening it, I absent-mindedly looked through the peephole once again, and in that glance, something felt off. The rain outside was pouring, yet they weren't wet at all. It looked like they had just changed their clothes inside the building. I immediately halted, my hand reaching for the doorknob. Leaning against the doorframe, I took a deep breath. After a while, I composed myself and said, "Oh, wait a moment, I'm changing clothes right away." I walked to the bathroom and dialed the property management lobby's number again. This time, they picked up quickly, and the background noise was loud. "Hello, haven't you come yet?" "Hello? Oh, the lady you called just now. Please wait a moment. We suddenly have an emergency here, and it might take a while for us to come over." The security hadn't come. Who were the people outside? My heart instantly tightened into a knot, pounding violently as if it wanted to break out of my chest. Suddenly, the knocking on the door resumed. The voice carried a hint of impatience. "Madam, how much longer? Hurry up." The voice sounded like Wu Hao. I propped myself up and walked to the door. "Who are you?" "I've already called the police." Suddenly, it became quiet outside. I waited for a long time, but there was no sound. Had they left? I stood up, approached the peephole, but it seemed to be blocked, showing only darkness. I couldn't see or hear anything. There was a faint light outside the peephole. Had they really left? I pressed closer. Suddenly, a large eye pressed tightly against the door. The person on the other side was also looking at me. I suddenly remembered that someone online had said that people outside could judge if there was anyone inside by the brightness of the peephole. They knew I was also looking at them through the door. "We're from the property, madam," the voice from the other side spoke, close to the door, buzzing and wheezing. In the silent night, it sounded even more desolate and terrifying. They were still trying to explain, but I was almost certain that the person outside wasn't Wu Hao. At this point, I wished my neighbors would find them annoying and drive them away. But there was no such luck. Instead, the password lock on the door began to beep. They were trying to unlock it. Beep, 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 password incorrect. Beep, beep, beep. The mechanical voice repeated password incorrect over and over, challenging my nerves. Damn, what's the password? Unable to open it, the people outside became increasingly frustrated. They were like wolves, who couldn't get to their prey, staring at me, the trapped prey, with unwavering eyes. The door lock had a million possible passwords. They could make numerous mistakes, but I couldn't make a single one. I couldn't just wait to die. Wiping away a tear, I went to the kitchen, took out a knife, and held it tightly in my hand. I stood at the door and loudly called the police. "Hello, 110. I have some strangers knocking on my door and trying to break in. Can you please check it for me?" There was a commotion outside. Then, there were more frequent attempts at entering the password, even the sound of trying to force the door. Beep, 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 password incorrect. Bang, 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 open the door. They heard the police were called and became even more frantic. I put the phone on speaker, volume turned to the maximum. "Hello, please state your address." "Well, send someone over immediately. I'm at XXX. Please come quickly. They are trying to break my door lock." "Okay, don't be afraid. Keep the line open. We'll be there within 5 minutes." I wiped away my tears, crouched at the door, and listened to the police on the phone. After a few attempts, they finally gave up outside. Boom. They were kicking the door. The door panel vibrated intensely, the sound echoing far in the silent night. Finally, a woman's voice said, "Bitch, just you wait." It was the same girl who called me earlier.